With rants and raves, you'll be okay. And today is your lucky day. It is rants and raves with Gary K.
Hey everyone, this is Gary K, and we are going to talk NAB now with Keith Vidger. Keith is an engineering manager at Panasonic Professional, or I should say Panasonic Connect now, part of the video and audio group Panasonic. You got a booth at NAB coming up, Keith. You're in booth N1311. Panasonic has always been a big part of NAB, and I know this year is not going to be any different.
You bet. So we're looking forward to a really big show, and thanks for having us, number one, at our booth for those that come by, and we certainly hope loads of you do, because we're going to be in a new area this year for NAB. We're going to be in the North Hall, as the Central Hall, our longtime home at NAB, is under renovation, and we've got a bunch of zones that will categorize the different products. And so even though we think of them as part of one larger ecosystem, certainly if customers want to come by and look at studio cameras, that's the first thing they'll see as they come to our booth. A huge area for us, 8 cameras will be on display there in our studio camera section, a live set, plus a big video wall behind showcasing how well our cameras do handling moire, everything from small camcorders. There's even Lumix on display, all the way up through the new flagship camera, the UCX100, with all of its cool capabilities regarding 2110, and again, several other cameras filling out the bunch there that represent everything from a very low price point of just a few $1,000s, again, all the way up to the UCX, the new top dog, if you will, that we're most excited about.
And obviously, the moire issue has to be solved nowadays because of virtual production, in addition to people actually using all sorts of different display platforms as instead of green screens, right? They're using it to, everything on television sets to movie sets, to even colleges and schools doing their own in-house broadcast networks and stations. We don't just use plasma anymore, right? We don't have, back then we didn't have to worry about as much as we do with LED and some of the newer technologies, Keith.
Exactly. And, besides the concept of virtual production, which obviously talent prefers standing in front of an actual background as opposed to a green screen, it carries over to basically everybody. If you're in a corporate environment, or if you're in a hotel ballroom and you're standing in front of content, clearly standing in front of a green screen would not work. So being able to have an actual video wall behind you not only is sort of all the rage, if you will, but a necessary part of how production works today. Of course, it brings with it issues like moire and how you deal with that. And so we'd like to think that from our PTZ cameras all the way up through the big studio cameras, nobody handles moire better than a Panasonic camera.
So, and obviously Panasonic does more than cameras. If we move away from cameras for a second, I think it's important to say that you have everything connected. Like historically, in the last few years I've gone NAB, everything's been connected with one backbone. If we move away from cameras for a second, where do we go next?
So we could go, so just recapping, there's studio cameras. There's also PTZ cameras we briefly touched on. Again, all interconnected.
And you're talking about your PTZs covering both your production PTZ cameras, broadcast, as well as security cameras as well. And even the PTZ cameras that would be in classrooms, or which level are we talking about here?
So all of the above, with the exception of security. So certainly the production PTZ cameras like the UE160, the top dog of our PTZ family, the new UE150A. But then we've got cameras that would be used, as you said, for classrooms, corporate environments, houses of worship, things along those lines. So all of those will be on display. And also, as you pointed out, interconnected. So MPS, or Media Production Studio, is software that allows these cameras to be controlled from a unified platform. And there's a lot of other things that MPS can do, such as AI keying, in other words, chroma keyless keying. It also has the ability to take advantage of something that people have been accustomed to for years, such as auto tracking, but really take it up a notch, where facial recognition will allow it to track multiple people independently in the same shot and follow them appropriately. So no longer do you have to worry about the auto tracking getting confused. Now is essentially through facial technology or facial recognition technology, you have the ability to essentially follow independent people. And again, that's part of the MPS suite of products.
So does MPS only work with Panasonic cameras?
Basically, yes. So there's a lot of technology that goes into making the quality sufficient, and that interconnectivity between obviously cameras that we at Panasonic make plus MPS. There's a special relationship there that only exists between the Panasonic products to get the best quality process. So whether it's auto tracking, auto framing, advanced auto framing, the AI King really is a Panasonic ecosystem.
Okay, so the Q camera section and MPS. What else?
Right next to the MPS and PTZ section, where we also feature TechnoPoint, is audio. Audio essentially can be thought of as a standalone group of products from handhelds and lavaliers, but the ceiling array microphones. But there is a tie-in again with MPS and the PTZs, in that you can have a PTZ, for example, an lecture capture environment, and when it senses a particular area that's covered by the ceiling mic array, will now actually move the camera to that part. So you can have one camera connected to a single ceiling mic or multiple ceiling mics in a large auditorium. Or as we're going to show off at NAB, you can have a single ceiling mic array and multiple cameras, each tracking appropriately who's speaking based on when they speak. You can even control the switcher. So a switcher will be told what to do, in other words, what camera to take when the appropriate person speaks. So there's a tie-in between audio and video, not only from MPS, but a new product we'll have at NAB 25, where it again allows the ability for the cameras and the microphones to interconnect with one another.
And are you ready to talk about that product now, or you want to wait till we get to the show?
We're thinking of its big coming out party is going to be at the show itself, but it's the AV processor unit that'll be seen for the first time in the US at NAB 25. Yeah.
All right, and those are the ones that we saw at ISE.
Yes, so exactly. ISE would have previewed them for us, if you will.
Okay, excellent. All right, and so moving from there, what else do we have in the booth? And again, you're in the North Hall this year, 1311.
Exactly. And as we round the booth, then we come to, we'll say, my favorite product, Kairos, near and dear to my heart. So new software for Kairos this year that applies to the top dog version of the family. That's the S1 all the way down to the L1 version, which is an SDI only based version of Kairos that you can upgrade in the future to 2110 if you want. So lots of cool capabilities with this new version of software, everything from the ability to input and output 12-bit video as opposed to just 10-bit, but also internally process at 16-bit, something that basically switchers don't do. So combining the power of Kairos with its no fixed limits for keyers, no fixed limits for the number of MEs and things like that. Now we have the quality of video that a lot of folks demand because Kairos is frequently connected to a video wall. So as we said before, video walls all the rage. High bit rate, high color sampling video walls are certainly important to a lot of customers. Kairos can now drive those walls in addition to its normal day job, if you will, of being a production switcher. It can now drive those walls at higher quality, such again as 12-bit and 444.
And last year at NAB, you introduced an SDI card for Kairos, if I remember correctly. Can we expect new input modules as well?
Exactly. So to round out the growing family of cards that you can put into Kairos, again, recapping, of course, there's been a 2110 QSFP card for some time. The SDI board that you mentioned before that can do HD and 3G and 4K and all that has been very popular. And an HDMI board will be shown off at NAB for the first time.
Okay, excellent. I was wondering if you were going to have HDMI as well. That puts it squarely in the phrase of Pro AV. I think that brings it down to sort of like being a Pro AV product that could be used in command and control, esports, things like that. Do you see Kairos jumping into that market more? I mean, it's already been in esports for large production, but not like campus, smaller production applications. But it seems like that would be a good sort of central controller because it can run the content on the screen and the actual production that you're sending wherever else you're sending it.
Exactly. And so, as you're pointing out, whether or not you simply want to bring in contact that happens to be HDMI native, a PC of some kind, or a source that's HDMI only, you don't have to convert. It comes in super handy for that and very elegant, but also for those driving a wall, and the wall itself might only have an HDMI input. Being able to output HDMI from Kairos is, again, something that brings an elegance to the connectivity of the whole process, especially, again, if you're using the KC200L1, again, the lower cost version of the Kairos family. Having HDMI input and output really makes it a system that's easy to essentially kind of get into to take advantage of all that creativity that comes with no fixed limits to the keyers and MEs concept. So constantly building on the platform of the software, in terms of the capabilities, what it can do, the fun part, if you will, and the hardware as well. The concept of how do I get signals into and out of it, 2110, SDI, now HDMI, all of it's part of this ever-growing family that is Kairos.
Perfect. Are we missing anything, or is that what you're going to have at NAB? That's a lot.
That's a lot. There's still more. There's new cameras. There's small box cameras that can go right onto a set in inobtrusive locations. There's new camcorders that we're introducing. There's a lot in the camera world that we don't have time to cover everything here, but a huge amount of acquisition going on. And of course, the idea is that it all goes into Kairos to be switched, and along with that, the control of it, MPS, which kind of brings it all together, if you will. There's really a few products that you'll see at NAB 25 that MPS is not a part of. That ecosystem that is ever growing, and the interconnected simplicity that allows you to have higher production value without having to really strain the number of operators that get in there, or having to do all kinds of extra training to put together complex shows. MPS is designed to make your life super simple while maintaining that high production value. So lots to see at NAB 25. Hope that you can come by and see the booth. When you get there, please make sure to check out our big 5 sections: audio, Kairos, Technopoint, MPS, and studio cameras, along with our new camcorders.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense for them to go by, because you're one of the only, maybe not even a handful of companies, less than a handful of companies that have the whole ecosystem covered. I would say 2 companies really that do. So Panasonic's one of those 2, and I definitely think you should go by there. Again, they're going to be in the North Hall this year because the Central Hall is under construction. That's in N1311. Keith, thank you very much for the detailed overview. I really appreciate it. And of course, we're going to go there and shoot videos.
Exactly.
And
we're looking forward to that as well.
yeah, and everything, all of our coverage of NAB will be in one place at raypels.com/NAB. You can see a lot of follow-up coverage, and we'll also do a replay NAB event as well, which you'll get more information on a little bit later. Thanks for joining me today, Keith. I really appreciate it, and congratulations on all the new stuff, and have a great show.
Now, thanks so much. Looking forward to seeing you and everyone else there.
We'll be there.